Hello YouTube. This is a viewer has asked a question for help and stuff like that. So hopefully I've understood what his issue is, and hopefully I can help him with this video and similar issues. Chat's on for now. If the bot starts spamming it, I'll turn it off. But it was about the jiggle physics and stuff like that. He made the statement of something is multiple part, and so it doesn't work because of something. Okay, so I'm assuming he's indicating that if I we'll grab a sphere. Okay, let's put that. Now if I copy this, let's copy the sphere 4 times. You're gonna have to use a bit of imagination here, but imagine, excuse me, skin. Let's add color to that. Let's add different color to that. And let's add, a different color to that. And a different material. Okay. So we've got we'll do a puppet just so you can see what it's doing in reference to the thing. So if I go bring down the puppet, scale it to, we'll say his belly. Okay, that's nowhere near him, but excuse me. Okay. Seeing as that's going to be skin, let's paint that the same as that to represent it. Okay. So if I'm understanding him correctly, he's saying that because it's multiple parts. Now I don't know how he sculpted it, don't know what he's done with it, and where it's scoped in and from that. But if I come out like that, it's in the spot where the belly would be, right? But as you can see, it's not attached to the puppet in any way. That is because it hasn't been scoped in or grouped. Now if I grab them all like this, and then just say grab them, and actually let's turn their collision off. So I've got those there, they don't collide. If I go in and put it on the thing, I'm going to be scoping in. So while they're all selected, I'm going to hover over the part I want to scope it into, pull the left shoulder button or L1 and tap cross. It's scoped in by 1. Then as you can see, when I'm on it, the white outline is doing the hands, the arms, the upper arms, the chest, or everything that is a child of the piece I'm looking at. But we want to do it once more. So just the piece we want to scope it into is highlighted. So I now let go of the item. It is now scoped in to that piece. Everything else is blurry. That is sharp, so it is now scoped in. So now when I do it, it's all attached. And that is because I selected all 4 of those and scoped them in and placed it on. You could also group them. If I come back into here, let's take them out. And just see how if I go like that, see how they're all like that, and then you got the little plus. Right now they're all separate pieces. But if I select them all and then group them, when I select it, they're all one piece. But I can then scope in, and they are now separate pieces in the scope section. So a grouping is similar to a scoping in that aspect. So now that they're all grouped, I can attach it to any body part I want or any item I want. So there's the stomach, just the stomach is lit or outlined. So we can go like that and go like that. if you want to, let's align it a little bit better. So there you go, the stomach is done. Now obviously those four, that'd be whatever they are. One could be your stomach, the other one could be the t-shirt, the other one could be, I don't know, a jacket or something like that. Now if you want one of these pieces here to move semi-dynamically to the stomach, or you want the stomach to move dynamically to the rest of the puppet, you got to have it so that that is sharp and the item you're using is sharp. So when you're on the scoping, look at your puppet. Everything has the white outline. When you press the left shoulder, L1, and cross by 1, the background goes blurry. The full puppet is still sharp. Go one more. Background, legs, arms, chest, that's all blurry, but the part you're going into and the other part, which is actually scoped into the same level or layer, as I call it, are all sharp. And that's where we want to be. We can highlight that one or we can highlight that one. We don't highlight them both, we just want one or the other. That means we're in the correct spot. Then I can place it where we want it, and then grab myself a hinge or board joint or whatever you want to use. Go anywhere to anywhere. Then using the X-ray, we can just place that to where we, let's use alignment, to roughly where we want it to go to and from. Because the stomach, I'm going to use about that. What I've just done is made it so those four there are attached to the stomach via this hinge. As you can see, they're still both on the same layer because I can highlight one or the other. If I back out one, you see I'm now in the layer where all this stuff is all, it's one layer back. These ones here, because they're all grouped, let's just delete them for now. So right now, I now have the stomach in it, and as you can see, it's attached. Now, if I put them all back again, and do it, because of the white, hello? Because of the weight, it'll flop like that. But all those four there are attached to the stomach because of the layering. That wobbly jiggly part, you can see that's density that can be all adjusted. The fact it's flopping down like that, that's density and alignment and stuff like that can be all adjusted. So it is now, all four of those are grouped together and they are all scoped in to the stomach. Now obviously if you're making this, and this is the shirt, the jacket and the whatever, if we use the things, they would be more like, actually if I get that and let's grab it and we'll tap it up by 1. Let's move you, actually, let's cut the tops off them at different spots. Shirt, jacket, and whatever. I can now get these, move them across to they're at the spot I want them. So if that was a breast, this would be a bra. And then maybe this one here is a pattern on the bra. So we'll place that there. And maybe this one here is the, I don't know, the label or something like that. Who knows? So there's different layers. You got all on the stomach. If I do that, as you can see, it's all attached. It's all on the same layer. Now, how it's flopping around weird, that's easily done by adjusting that. We can add springiness to it. That'll fix that. And now we've got a stomach. It's laid into the spot. It's got the multiple parts. Now, obviously, if you're doing it like a tail and stuff like that, this here would be the tail. And then obviously, or I shouldn't say obviously because it's not that obvious. Each one of these parts would be different segments. So you'd go there, there, and there. So that would be like, just say that's the tail. And if you wanted them to move independent to each other, you'd go to the point where, see how they're all outlined right now? And that's outlined. You want to do it like, see how I move down one and it separates? We want that to happen with these. We're going to go left shoulder, L1, cross, and now we're in at that scope. That's the scope we want to be at to grab the next one, and we'll go that. Then we can grab there to there, there to there. So the part you're going from is highlighted, cross. The part you're going to is highlighted, cross. And you want the centerpiece to be roughly where they join. Then you can align it. So we'll grab, center it, center. You don't have to worry too much about the yellow part. It's the purple and the pink parts you got to worry about. Okay. There. Okay. So now these are all hinged, and that is now hinged from that. So if I now grab these, I'm not too fast about the alignment. It's just to say show you. Let's add that. We'll add some again with the springiness. So now he's got a really jiggly overhang stomach. So that's hopefully clarified on how to get multiple parts to be part of the same thing. Now, terminology on layers, scoping in, grouping, all that, it's a loose-fitting terminology. But the way I look at it is scope is because what they call it is when you highlight something and you press L1 and cross, that's scoping in. So that would technically be a layer. So that would be one layer. The puppet's another layer. But then the chest with the arms and the head attached, that's another layer. Then just the chest is another layer. And the groups are kind of the chest, the arms, the neck and the head. That's grouped in that layer. It's kind of hard to say, like, this is the exact way it works, but hopefully the way I've just described it clarifies kind of how it works. So anything that's in the same layer or in the same group moves with each other, unless, for example, if that and that, one of them has, just say, the move turned off or the move turned on, vice versa. As you can see, both these here are set up the same. So, excuse me. So because they're in the same layer / group, they should move with each other. So the parent moves and brings the children with it. And the way that is determined is on a puppet, the hip is the parent. It's always the origin. So when you look at the hip, as you can see, the entire puppet is highlighted with the white outline. If I move the imp up, as you can see, the highlight is no longer doing the legs or the feet or the hip. It's just doing the stomach. But it's also including the chest, the upper arms, the lower arms, the hands, the neck, and the head. Because they're all children of the chest, of the stomach. Then you go up one, the chest, and then its children are the arms and the head. Same with the arms. That's how it all works. So you want to keep that sort of what they call hierarchy when you're doing your stuff. So if I look at the stomach and scope in, that is everything. And then that does not include that parent because it's a child. That is a child of that. Then when I look at that one, all its children, which are these ones, are also highlighted. Now I've grouped them, so they're all going to highlight it until I scope in again. So I've got to scope in again. Now when I move down, they're all highlighted. Going down again, they're all highlighted. Down again, they're highlighted. So if you're going to be using the grouping system, just be aware of that. Now if you've got them grouped, if you select the group, you can ungroup them just by clicking that. Ungrouping them shouldn't affect anything, but as you can see, it does. So be very careful with your grouping, because from what I can tell, the grouping system. So if I regroup them, like that, the group has its own what do you call it, thing. Now if you ungroup them, it disregards this, and therefore that's what causes the issue. So if you've grouped something and then moved it and doing all of this, then you can run into issues. So when you're doing this kind of work, try not to group stuff. Most of my stuff, like my tail and stuff like that, I don't group them. What I do is I'll do the method I showed first, where I go, let's grab some, actually not, let's use the rounded squares for now. Rounded cubes. Let's just make sure it's aligned. Of course, yeah, totally needs aligning. Okay, so like that, okay. So imagine we want that to be a ponytail. I know it's a big ass ponytail, but use your imagination. And then we've got multiples of it, so we come back. Let's do that. So there's our ponytail. They're all separate pieces, and they're not attaching. What I do is I select all of them, but don't group them. Then just while they're all selected with the dotted outline, scope them in by going to the piece I want them attached to, left shoulder, cross, until just the piece I want it attached to is sharp. Everything else is blurry. Then I know it's in the right spot. Now, it does take a little bit getting used to knowing where you're scoped into, because sometimes you'll be scoped into that point and you go, oh yeah, that feels right, because only that's highlighting. But that isn't necessarily right, because everything down here is still sharp. You want to go that one extra, like that. Now, while they're all highlighted, let's turn the collisions off. So as you can see, they're all sharp, that's all sharp. So they're all on the same layer. So if I now back out, they will be attached to the head. There you go. So if you want to then do the whole hinging, pivoting, all that sort of stuff, it's laid correctly. Now collisions and the densities, like with the stomach, if you scope into it, if it's moving it around too much, just select everything and go into its, I don't know what we'd call that one, the dynamics, or the physics section, you've got ignore gravity. If you tick that or highlight that, it will ignore gravity. It'll float like it's in space. So we're going to leave that off so that it obeys gravity. This here is how thick it is or how dense it is. So like lead is very dense, and foam or carbon fiber and this is light, so it's less dense. So we can adjust that down. So if we go to just say 20, it won't pull down and move the rest of it as much. So that should now have fixed the whole puppet's midsection moving around. So it doesn't move around as much. It'll still obey the gravity, so I haven't unchecked that. And it's now moving independently to everything. You could also, if you're desperate, come into it, grab them all, come into here and change the physics cost. If you're getting a lot of the thermal problems, you can adjust that. Adjusting the friction, if you give it no friction, if it hits something or rubs up against something, it will not slow down. It'll move at the normal speed. If you give it more friction, if it bumps up against something or rubs against something, especially if the collision's turned on, it will then slow it down. Most people know what friction is. 100% friction means it's sandpaper, stick. If it's 0, it's slide. So that can also help with if you've got stuff that's sticking to the stuff, just turn the friction off. There is also the option of the jiggle, or the squishiness. Just remember, if you're doing the squishiness, like if I max the squishiness out, you're going to get some weird, when it moves, some weird, actually it's not too bad right now, but on certain objects you can get some weird shaky look to it when you move. So you just got to be cautious of that. There it's not too bad, but adding squishiness makes each sphere more like jelly and less like stone. If you turn the squishiness to 0, it'll be more like stone. So I think that's all I really need to explain. Now hopefully I've explained what the viewer has asked, because he was talking about how he can't get his to work because it's multiple parts. Now that's why I've done like the stomach as 4 separate pieces. So hopefully this helps him. And if anyone else is getting stuck with the layering or the scoping or anything like that, then hopefully this roughly explains what to do. So the quick explanation is, look for the quick tips are, look for the highlight where the white outline is, and shoulder buttons or L button, the number 1 buttons are your friend. So hover over what you want to scope into, hold L1, cross. That scopes you in. Doing the same but circle scopes you out. You can check what layer or scope you're at by usually highlighting the object and grabbing it and moving it. If the item you're concerned about moves with it, usually that means it's attached to that layer. Now, as you can see here, it's moving with the puppet. So it's in the puppet. But I want to know what part of the puppet it's attached to. Is it attached to the puppet's head? Is it attached to the puppet's torso? So I'll just scope into the head. If I now grab the head and move it, it's moving as well. So I know it's scoped into the head. If I grab that and move it, as you can see, oh, that's also attached, so it's moving that. So in case you're curious, I'm hovering over it and pressing the right trigger to move it. And then I tap left on the D-pad to cancel out my movement. That's all you have to do is to check its scope. So if this was attached, imagine these are attached accidentally incorrectly. So if I scope them out by one, let's try it again, out by one. So we want them that. It still looks exactly the same as it did. It's still in the puppet, but I want to know if it's attached to the correct part. So I'll scope into the puppet, get the head, move the head. It didn't move, so it's not on the same layer or group, or what do we call it, as the head. Move the torso, the chest, and it's not there. If I then move the hip, it's not attached to the hip. So there I can go, okay, it's not attached to the hip, it's attached to the puppet. So therefore, when it moves, it's going to move with the entirety of the puppet, not the head. That's the easiest way to check its scoping or its layering. So I'm going to call it. The guy that asked the question, hopefully this answers or helps you fix the issue. I've made the comment back to him, says if you need any help, make a blank puppet or a copy of your creation and make a private collaboration with me and I can help you fix it. I will make adjustments to it and do it for you, and then you can just copy that into your actual creation, so therefore I'm not getting credit for it, if that's what you want to do. If you don't mind it coming up as I've done help, I've created some of it as well, then by all means you can just share that creation. But if you want it to be all your creation, have a copy of it. Collaborate that with me. I will then do the adjustments, and then you can look at those adjustments and then copy them to your actual creation. That way you get 100% of the credits. If you're curious on how to make something a private creation and stuff like that, if I rewind it, if you go to the saves, you can get a quick save. That will then give you these options. Just quick save it as whatever. Yep, that's fine. It'll save it. This is saving onto your console, not to online. It's going to tell me it's full, but we don't have to worry about it. So I'm going to say no. I'm just going to back out. Back out. Yes. Okay. Let's grab a creation that I can show you quickly. Oh, this one will do. If you've then got it saved offline, like I have this one here, it's not saved online, it's saved on my console. If I go to edit and then go to save version, I can now release it as playable online, or I can save it online as private. You want to choose this one here. This will then save that creation as a private creation, so only you can view it, and it's online. And then once you've done that, you can then come up to there or the collaboration section, if you can, if you know where they are, and then collaborate with it. That then will not, especially if you unparent it from the original creation, it will then not affect each other. So therefore, when you release your creation, anything I do to this private creation will not be shown on your actual creation. It'll still be saved online, and it'll say that I've helped with it, but only you and the collaborator can see it. Whereas if you release it publicly, and that's the one that I've collaborated on, it will always say that I've done work with it. So hopefully this video helps. Any questions about getting stuck on stuff, again, don't hesitate, ask. Especially if you're on Dreams, just put a comment in the comment sections. The comment sections aren't that hard to find. You can comment on the actual creator by going to their comment section, or you can go to the creations, and if I go, for example, my public ones, that one, I can go to there, just push right on the stick, you'll get comments. Just put a comment in there, I like the creation, how did you do that? Oh, I'm stuck on this part, how do I do this? That's what you have to do. So I'm out here, stay safe, and I hope to help. Catch us next time.